This story is entitled "The Midnight Express." I loved a cowboy camp, and one fall I went out with a young colt, and I say he was about a year old. He'd never really been off the farm, and since we'd bought him, and he was very used to our farm. He was very used to a lot of other things around him. He knew to stand tied, and he would work with you in any way that you wanted, but he'd never really been around the quote unquote real world. And his experiences were on our farm around the vehicles and things there, but he wasn't used to things outside of that. So I ponied him along behind me on a ride that took me 2 miles out into a state forest within a few miles of where we live. So we're out here in the middle of nowhere. We set up our quiet little camp, and I set them up where they can graze, and they've had quite a bit of food. But unfortunately, they're going to have to stand tied overnight. Well, horses have been doing this for millennia, whether they were with Bedouins or they were with cowboys, standing tied overnight because of an inability to let them just go and range. Well, I settle down and make myself my fire and make myself my food and get up and love on them every once in a while, talk to them, and I turn in early. It's dark, it's late, I'm tired. The colt had done great. He had done fantastic. He had ponied along behind my horse and been very obedient and crossed streams and gone up hills and down hills and around corners and just had really been a good horse. But in the middle of the night, I think he became not only homesick, but a little nervous. And even though his alpha, CK, was there, comforting him, telling him, I do this all the time, it's okay, the little horse had kind of a little panicked moment. And early, early in the morning, I discovered that he had been chewing at his securely tied lead rope, which gave him room to stand and rest and put his head down and sleep, just like CK was doing. He had been chewing at it until he got the complex knot untied. Now, he wasn't known for being like this, but he discovered in the middle of the night that his lips had quite a few abilities he wasn't aware they had. So I sit bolt upright, hearing up the trail and around the corner, away from our campsite. CK looks at me and nickers in the darkness, and I could tell he was telling me we've got to go after this colt. He's gonna hurt himself, and his protective instincts are there, and he wants to be right there and go get this colt. And I said, CK, it's so dark out. I can't see my hand in front of my face. I said, all we're going to do is hurt ourselves. You're going to fall in a hole. I'm going to hit a tree branch. Well, who knows how much of that he got, obviously. But he's nickering at me more and more plaintively that we have to go after this other horse. He's standing still. He's not jerking at his rope. He's not panicked that he's being left behind. But he is very concerned about this colt. And this colt is running the opposite direction at a dead run. Well, what I didn't know was this colt was running at a dead run with his nose to the ground, trailing the trail back that we had come along. Now we're 2 miles in, and I hear him go around the corner. I hear him go down the hill, and I hear it's a big, long, steep hill, 3/4 of a mile long. Goes around the corner, goes back up the other side of the hill, which is close to that long, and I can't hear him anymore. So I know he's gone back to the trailer, which is a decent ways into the woods parked. I know he's not going to run out into traffic, and there's no one else out here camping. We are in the middle of nowhere. But unfortunately, there are coyotes and various other things that could spook him. He could hurt himself, fall in a hole, any number of things. But the lesser of two evils was not doing something stupid and getting myself killed in the process, or CK, who is a darn good horse. So as I'm frustrated and ailing over the fact that this colt has run off, and after all my attempts to keep him up and help him to understand the good things about what we were doing, I'm sitting there talking to CK, and about 10 minutes go by. I'm watching the first crack of dawn, lights starting to come across the sky, and I said, CK, I said, as soon as I can see my hand in front of my face, we'll go after Blade, which is the name of the colt. Big long blaze on his sorrel forehead, full blood quarter horse, good horse. And although I wasn't thinking that at the time. And so I walk over to CK, and he readily accepts his bridle and bit, and I get ready to swing into the saddle, and I'm thinking, well, it's not quite light enough that I really am going to feel comfortable being in the saddle yet. I don't want to get smacked in the head with a limb. So I start leading CK up the hill, away from the campfire that I've kind of quieted down, and get up to the top of the hill, and here comes Blade. I hear him at a dead run. He's run all 2 miles out to the truck, probably sniffed his way all the way around the truck, realized, oh crud, I'm by myself. I'm a herd animal. What am I going to do? I can't get home from here, because he had no idea where he was. So he turns around and runs back at a dead run, the 2 miles back. By the way, very exhausted colt came back to us. And I'm standing here listening, and CK's listening, and the colt starts nickering plaintively as he's coming back. So CK fills his lungs and give him the "come back over here, you knucklehead," you know, nicker back, and he stands there next to me. And CK realizes the colt's coming right back to us, so he's making no move to move forward. I'm standing at the top of the hill next to him, and as Dawn's light comes up over the hill, here comes this beautiful colt running full speed, and he's dragging his lead rope. Now, he's intelligent enough to realize he's going to trip and fall if he's not stupid or not careful with it. So he's got his head cocked to one side. The lead rope is dragging beside him, and he's running like a crab, almost sideways at a dead run. It was an impressive and a little bit scary sight. Comes flying around the corner, runs right up to us, and slide stops right in front of me. And just goes like, wow, that was scary. And I started petting him, took hold of his lead rope, and I said, that was kind of dumb, buddy. That could have got you really hurt. Took him back with me, and as I turned to take him back, CK leans over and gives him a good bite on the cheek for his troubles. And I, of course, scold CK. I said, I know you're trying to tell him that what he did was stupid, but don't hurt him. There's no reason to do that. I lead them back down and tie them off again, tie the colt with a different knot, which he immediately figures out he can't untie. And I pet on him a little bit and love on him, helping to understand that there's no bad things have happened. But it was an interesting horse story. He had literally run his own little midnight express all the way out, thinking he was going home, and had discovered he couldn't quite get there from where he was, and decided the better part of wisdom was to head back with the herd, which is a powerful example of the herd sense in horses. They frequently, if they leave one group, they are going to another group. They don't typically run off by themselves for very long because that safety in numbers instinct is so strong in them. Now he's a beautiful 2-year-old, do just about anything you want him to do, and doesn't seem to be afraid of overnight stays anymore. Hope you enjoyed the story. Have a good day.